fights, but Ryze to me is always a really interesting champion because there's so much skill expression on how you actually play the map and how you pilot in team fights.
100%. I actually, the Ryze done right, I felt like from Quad, like the second death from Impact, from him just being able to be like, okay, Team TL is like making a play topside, they're clearly going to go for grubs, I'm going to use my Ryze ulti to look for a play bot lane, get a kill for his team, and then play sides pretty well for the rest of the game. Like, it is a difficult champion, I think, to maneuver just because of its range, but with Catalyst and Roa changes coming through, even of course being built on champions like Ahri, like it really benefits him. And hell, if you can flex it, because there's like the Ryze top lanes of old, then it can really help your team strat.
Yeah, I think for me, Varus is the least surprising that it's getting picked a lot, but I think it's more of an example of the needs of bottom lane when you can't lane swap early. Because I think it's a champion you can blind pick to be fine against almost any AD carry, but more importantly, I think it will pair well with either melee or range supports. So you can still go heavy bully, but it's also something like you can get away with even against double range, and still not lose terribly, and it gives your team comp a lot more flexibility.
I mean, plus you have two extremely viable builds, right? Like you can go on hit or poke Varus, and I think both really work well depending on the situation. So it's just so flexible. It's really strong in lane. And we saw some pretty dominant performances as well from it. So I definitely think Varus is still going to be remaining at the top of the table.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more games. As a reminder, we have a different format than we've ever had before here in Split 2. So our regular season, because Fearless has been adopted for the global scene, is now 3 stages. Positioning phase, which is the first 3 weeks of best of ones. Group phase, where the different groups play best of threes against each other, which then qualifies 6 teams for these playoffs, which are going to be full best of 5 Fearless 6-team double elimination for the top 4 seeds.
Positioning phase is so important. If you get first place, knowing that like the next best team within your group is 4th and 5th is insane. So even though a lot of the times people wonder about the purpose and the stakes around the positioning phase, it is very meaningful if you're chasing for the top.
I just like the teams getting days on stage because we have teams like DST or Lion who got 2 days on stage in Split 1. They're going to have 2 days on stage here after today. Let's check out the schedule to see when everyone faces everybody else. You can see C9 and Shopify Rebellion on stage right now setting up. They're going to be the first game. TL 100 Thieves, DST Fly, and Lion Dig is going to wrap up the day.
I'm interested definitely in the TL 100 matchup. I think TL for sure is a team that wants to at least have a game. If they come out 1 week 0-2, especially being Split 1 winners, it is crazy. So they do not want that taste in their mouth going into week 2 when they feel like it is definitely like they felt like they were the strongest team in the league.
And I'm looking at our first match, actually. I think this is going to be super interesting, right? Because as we see Shopify coming in with Fudge. Let's go, B-Boy. I think the big thing for me is Shopify Rebellion did get off to a good early mid start, but then really looked like they didn't necessarily know how to close out the game, whereas C9 did end up losing their match to 100 Thieves yesterday. So I think this is going to give us an interesting indicator of where both of these teams are at, especially after yesterday's performance.
I mean, I think most people coming into this split are looking at it as there's a clear top 4
has a price. Are you prepared to pay for yours? A quick death, the only gift I give the opposition. Keep your friends close. And your men closer.
Enemy disintegrated.
Humanity depends on our victory.
flex, instead of actually saving the top lane for counterpick here for Thanatos on red side, they are going to use support counterpick on 5, and they're going to blind the Gnar. I don't think that Fudge would really be going towards any of the kind of really big counterpicks, things like the Yasuo and the Aurelia, are the ones that you most likely think of. Things like Quinn can also be quite good. They are hovering it, but I don't really expect to see it locked in. You kind of have to be a specialist usually on those champions for it to work out.
It's very uncommon to really see it slam down. The Mbess is something that much more predictable, much more expected. Fudge will be piloting that one. And again, if I remember right, this is still another one of those champs locked in the same as what they were running yesterday. Shopify pretty happy with that composition.
Yeah, 4 out of 4 are the same. So we'll see if it's going to be the Leona. That would make it 5 out of 5, the exact same comp that they did actually play yesterday. And
it's
lo
the
and
same
behold,
5 champions.
It's the exact same 5, and I'm not even surprised, once they got this far in, because it's like, well, you need hard engage, right? And what's going to say something he'll be comfortable on is going to be that Leona. I will say their comp is very, very squishy. So, yeah, Naafiri, not the easiest ult target for Vi, but pretty much ult anyone except Leona, and you can potentially 100 to 0 them, right? There is a lot of CC, a lot of follow-up here on the C9 squad. They're going to go with Alistar as the answer to be able to kind of reject some of those Leona engages. Okay. And again, between the Gnar, the Vi, as well as this Alistar, if you can find really any of these carries, any of the 4 on the top side, it is going to be very, very rough.
So which side of the draft would you prefer here?
I like C9s a lot more, honestly. I just think, it's kind of a more stable composition because you have more of that front line, more of the easy ways to engage. Really, for Shopify, you're looking at potentially like a Palafox flank or Seos engage, and kind of that's it. Vi obviously is going to bring a lot more consistency as far as the engage. They have things like Weaver's Wall to cut them off and block them off, Alistar engage, potential for Gnar flank. So I do think they have easier ways to start the fight, and against a very squishy comp, that can work well. That being said, if you don't nail your engage, because there's so many threats on the Shopify comp, they can definitely run you over, right? If you flub your engage or someone survives it or whatever, well, now all these individuals are going to be, having so much damage that they're putting out on the Shopify side.
And I'm glad you mentioned Weaver's Wall specifically, because in Shopify's game yesterday, the one that had to go for 53 minutes, they were also against Taliyah, and it was that Weaver's Wall, that big engage that happened around the Otacon halfway through the game that I mentioned as the turning point, where it went from Shopify domination to all of a sudden this drawn-out just slog of a battle between the two teams. Even after the game, when I was walking through the kitchen backstage, I was talking to one of our production guys, mentioning how long the game had gone, and Palafox was like, wait, did it really go 53 minutes? And I was like, yeah, man. And he was like, man, that one should have been over at 26. So even the players on Shopify recognizing that was the moment where it kind of fumbled a little bit. So that's what I'll really be looking for here today is, number one, can they build the same type of a lead against a team that you already mentioned, a higher caliber here in C9? And if they can build it, can they keep it without that little bit of rocky road there?
Yeah, that is going to be a really big question, and can Blabber and Loki have a bit of a bounce back game here? Blabber wasn't super happy with how he performed yesterday, and Loki did have a really rough game, so don't want to be starting off 0-2 as one of those expected top teams. It is going to be Poke Varus here from Sven. You can see he's playing Comet.
Yeah.
Nothing else really kind of too out of the ordinary. Loki going to be playing Phase Rush. Makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of these melee divers, champions that you are just going to be trying to kite back from.
The other thing I'm also looking for now, with lane swaps completely dead and kind of the emergence of these carry top matchups coming out more, like yesterday we even got to see, Riven versus Gwen in one of the games, is how frequently we will see double combat summoner spells in top lane versus another teleport. That is one of those things that I think can factor a lot into the macro game. Obviously, it's not going to matter in this particular game just because, everything's very stock and standard. But B-Boy with the barrier compared to the cleanse on Sven, a little bit of difference in respecting CC versus raw damage there. Naafiri still OP. I agree with you, Kobe. I don't... Okay, never mind. I thought he spelled it wrong at first, but that's just a lot of eyes. Okay. Seos and B-Boy, just trying to get a little bit of control here.
He spelled it wrong, and those are a lot of eyes.
All right. I appreciate you having my back there. I appreciate you having my back.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. I think Naafiri is very strong, and I'm kind of excited still, even if it is super strong, to just see what our players can do with it, since it's a champion that before yesterday had never been played in North American Pro League before.
Absolutely, and I just think it's fun when there's different kind of styles and classes of champions that can fit into the role, right? Traditionally in jungle, we haven't had really any assassins in a really, really long time. And Nefiri does kind of fit that bill, so it's fun to see that mixed up and just a little bit of variety. And it looks like Contracts maybe looking for an invade here, was kind of crossing over and potentially wanted to try to find Blabber at this red buff.
And this is the exact same thing Contracts did yesterday. He knows that he's going to be there faster than the Vi. It's the exact same play as it was on day one. He hops under the brush right next to the red. He knows he's stronger in the 1v1 at level 3. Forces Blabber out of the jungle, and just like yesterday as well, it's Fudge with control over the top lane, it's Palafox with push in mid, with both his solo laners having control. Contracts feels confident moving into enemy territory. He throws the ward down over the wall there, sees Blabber on the Krugs, and does not want to allow Blabber any breathing room. Thanatos doesn't want to have to leave the turret. He's got this wave to pick up. This is a very stressful situation for C9.
Yeah, and Blabber uses Smite, but it looked like Contracts got it, and he's going to get almost all of the mini Krugs there, so really successful invade here for Contracts. Can't even go back towards that red and potentially start that up, but I'd like to talk about Fudge a little bit. Obviously,
okay.
You know, this is kind of his first foray outside of Cloud9. For a while, he was kind of looking like one of the franchise guys for Cloud9. He had been there for quite some time. You know, he's been around for quite a while in NA, right? You know, all of this time was on Cloud9, and now he's stepping off of the team. Obviously, you know, he didn't have a slot even when he was on Cloud9 at the end of last year, so now moved out and is looking to try to get a little bit of revenge. And we had Kobe kind of interviewing him earlier, talking about it's a bit of an ego battle. You're going up against your old squad, and traditionally people have not done very well when they leave Cloud9 against Cloud9, because Cloud9 is almost always one of those top teams in the league. The only ex-Cloud9 player with a positive win rate is Impact, because he obviously joined, you know, Liquid mostly and has done very well there. You know, won a lot of championships with them, so, you know, largely it just hasn't been that successful. So this would mean a lot, I think, to Fudge. You know, it took Licorice, I mentioned on the desk, I think it was something like 14 games to get a win against Cloud9.
Yeah.
You just couldn't get any wins against them. And it's one of those things where it's like, you want to prove them wrong. You want to show, you know, you shouldn't have replaced me. Like, I am better than this guy.
And they're off to a solid start here with Contracts getting that invade early on in the jungle. Obviously, you know, we're not talking about summoner spells getting spent or anybody just really losing an insane amount of tempo early on. But Contracts being able to make that play now 2 games in a row shows me that this is a composition, a play style that Shopify has been practicing. They know they're going to have advantages in those side lanes, or in those solo lanes, excuse me, and that they're going to be able to use Contracts as early pressure against something like a Vi that is like, what, the most common pro play jungler right now? I like the fact that they're crafting these specific strategies, knowing what they can do against a champion that is entirely predictable to likely be an opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blabber knows he's just going to have less camps to farm, so he has 2 charges of Smite. He just pulls the Dragon with a Smite and is going to be over on this. Someone's going to have to move and probably help him on this. Can't just allow Fudge to stop it because he's invested a lot of time.
Right.
So now Thanatos and Loki are coming down. They will be able to secure this Dragon, and they did it quite early, so Grubs haven't even spawned. Which means there is still that potential for them to challenge up on the top side. Of course, it did take both his charges of Smite, but I think this is great from Blabber. Yeah. Thanatos is going to take a really rough trade, but you know, we know how frustrating it can be when you get invaded. It feels awful giving up these camps. It can feel like you're out of the game.
Oh, that was really close there. Thanatos getting out of the way of the public execution, had to flash. Would have been very dangerous to be caught by that as the mini-Gnar. So Fudge wanted to go for it, pulls a free summoner spell on that one. Thanatos still with about half HP as Shopify, once again, just trying to use the power of the Nefiri, quick clear that enemy chicken camp. They've got control over the top lane, and they know it, so they're heading back into the Grubs now.
Yeah, I mean, Blabber was there, you know, for that spawn of the Raptors. He was there to cover it and try to take it away, but Seos came in as well. They just do this 2-man invade, Contracts and Seos working well together. That's going to get them prio there. They know they're going to be able to take the Grubs now as well. So things looking pretty solid here for Shopify, but at the end of the day, it is just a trade of Dragon for Grubs. And this kind of slight jungle lead here for Contracts has amounted to a couple hundred gold lead for the team overall, but there's still some more farm to collect, and it's pretty much dead even.
Yeah, you see small leads kind of everywhere. I mean, if you're a Shopify fan, you're happy to see all of those bars at the bottom looking blue, but it's not really a blue that you can count on being there after a couple more minions get farmed, right? Plus 33, plus 6, plus 20. Not really anything crazy. I do also want to keep an eye on Palafox's Aurora this game. In the previous game that we saw from them yesterday, there were a lot of moments, because of the fact that this composition really only has the big go button in Leona, that Palafox would soft engage with Between Worlds to kind of get everybody to panic, spread apart a little bit. But there were also a couple of oopsies that he had, accidentally hitting the barrier on the side of it when he wanted to chase over the wall and whatnot. So just cleaning up a little bit of that, getting the precision down on the champion and being able to facilitate the rest of the team fighting with the space that they want to, I think will be really important if they want to step up and beat Cloud9.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Aurora is actually really hard to team fight on as well. To do it very well is tough. The laning can be pretty powerful and pretty straightforward, but the 5v5s are tricky. You know, sometimes actually being able to use Between Worlds, bouncing back and forth properly, you know, utilizing the resets on your hop to be able to actually dodge skill shots out in the midst of everything. And you are kind of just like one of those shotgun champs where your upfront burst is so high, but if any of that gets missed or dodged, you don't really have anything left, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So it is definitely tough on the execution, but especially when you have a lot of dive with you, it can kind of create that chaos, and you can go in, you throw down the Between Worlds, you slow them up, and all of a sudden everyone else dodges in. Nice sidestep.
Ooh, yeah, that was a perfect sidestep there from Thanatos. And Fudge, now with the arrival of Blabber, has nowhere to go. It's a fist to the face, and it's C9 on the board first.
Really well done there. Just clean sidestep from Thanatos. Not sure if Fudge really would have been able to get out either way. Probably pretty tough, and I think with Blabber already coming in, I think he probably was dead to rights, but made it look easy. Has the early tabbies here already, as you've seen Nars almost always go in these kind of matchups. Palafox here to support Contracts on yet another Raptor invade, so just continuously stealing away some of these resources. But with Blabber having gotten that kill on the top side, you know, he's not behind in gold at all, and it's C9 now that's enjoying these ever so small advantages.
Uh-oh, Contracts is ready to go, though. He finds Blabber at the red yet again. This dog lives in the jungle, and Blabber did not heed the warnings, man. That wolf is on the prowl. Contracts tying up the game in kills.
I mean, that was a really good approach from Contracts as well. You can see that there was a ward in this brush, and I think Blabber was saying, if I'm going to get attacked at the red, he's going to wrap through Banana Brush, and I'm going to have him spotted there. Just kite back towards, you know, my side of the jungle, towards my tier 2 tower. But instead, Contracts wraps all the way around the outside and comes from a pretty unexpected angle. So Blabber just didn't see him coming. He gets punished.
Plus, since Blabber already used the flash in the top lane to make the first blood play on Fudge, since he didn't have his flash left to use, you can see Contract still has ulti available. He didn't even need it to chase down the Vi. As soon as he finds him at the red, it's already over. And now Vulcan working together with Loki. Palafox in some serious danger. Needs to try to get away from that one. Does manage to create enough distance there. But man, not too happy about the way that one played out. Luckily, still has his flash.
Yeah, good chunk there from Vulcan finding the catch. And this is just that pathing I'm talking about. You know, Blabber has the ward on his left side, so he's thinking he can just kite back towards the right. The reason he's kiting back towards that brush is because he's saying that will be the opposite direction someone will be coming through. But this is just really clever. I'm not sure if someone tracked that ward or if just like him guessing what that I'm gonna push it on ball with this water bucket.
Okay, C9 ready to turn around the play on the Shopify now. As Contracts and Seos wanted to step forward. As soon as they see the backup coming for C9, though,
In the overworld,
pursuit from Contracts. That's the everybody fall back button, and nothing ends up coming from it. We do have the second Drake.
Anything you can dream of.
Second set of grubs about to spawn at the same time. Seos, Palafox, and Contracts making their way down into the bot side river now. The Leona does have level 6. Vulcan, however, with the Unbreakable Will also ready to go here on this Alistar.
I'm gonna push it on ball with this water bucket.
The opportunity to move into the bot side river to see if they can overtake control and steal that back from Shopify.
in the overworld,
Nobody wants to be the one to
anything you can dream about,
You can create. So they built all this?
Yeah, most of it.
Hold up.
That thing doesn't understand a word you're saying.
We're talking.
life here was perfect. Until one day, Flint and Steel, we came across the Nether.
A place with no joy or creativity at all.
You, what are you making?
If they get their way, this beautiful
beautiful world and everything in it will wither and die.
They'll handshake the second one the other way.
But they're coming.
means goodbye,
This last one, it's
No,
actually
it
pretty
doesn't.
big, and they will
Don't
push
look at
it
her.
out. So
It does.
Shopify
If we want to save this world, creativity is key to survival.
Now what? Elytra wingsuits.
Bye-bye. Those things work, right? Absolutely. I love Blue House. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
This place makes no sense.
Let's do this.
They want me to fight the chicken?
Chicken jockey.
Because they have so much.
Oh no, not again. Oh my god, oh my god, are you alright?
Is exactly the same.
Your
And
head
you can
is
see down in the bottom lane,
huge.
Loki, who is the one who is benefiting from getting the extra turret plate money. He does have his Rod of Ages already stacking. This item getting changed around a little bit. Having the better build path becomes much more appealing to a lot of mid lane champions. His tier also up to 260 stacks. So going for the double stacking first two items just feels so powerful once they're both fully online.
It definitely does. I will say it's a pretty defensive build here from Loki. You know, you're not going anything that's a little bit higher damage, but I think, you know, in this kind of a composition, it makes some sense, right? There's Mbessa, there's Naafiri, there's Aurora, there's Leona. It's like all dive. Even Ezreal, if you get hit by CC, can throw the two-shot barrage over the top. So I think his thought process is, you know, I play this kind of tankier style with the Seraph Shield, with the stacking Rod of Ages, and I have that phase rush, and that's going to keep me safe.
Loki trying to get away from Fudge now, though. Vulcan is down here to try to protect his mid laner, but Shopify Rebellion is sending more troops. Loki flashing away from the Zenith Blade, tries to sidestep out of the Solar Flare, but the dog is there, and Shopify secure the first feat. 3 kills on the board for them, up 700 gold. Contracts 2-0-1 on the Naafiri, having another good showing on the champ.
Yeah, really well done. They just have the extra man down there. I think Loki was thinking, I am baiting Fudge because I have Vulcan in the brush here, but the extra member comes in. Contracts is there, as is Seos, and Seos has been just kind of moving around the map here with Contracts, helping him on some of these invades, now helping him down in that bot lane. They are able to find the kill and get the flash there off of Loki. Yes, it cost the flash from Seos, but that's not that big of a deal. And they're going to have Loki in a much more difficult spot here, potentially coming into this next dragon fight.
Big moves for C9, though, taking the tier 1 turret on the other side of the map as retaliation. That's going to give them a single feat for themselves. So it's all going to come down to these neutral objectives as Contracts with the level advantage over Blabber, going to continue chasing that Vi through his jungle. The damage is just insane, man. Blabber had to flash, so scared that the dog would have enough damage to bring him down.
And I mean, it's Seos again, right? Just moving around with Contracts. They've been relentless with this, just non-stop on these invades here. C9 now has a 3-man squad trying to contest this, but their jungler isn't even here, so it's tough, but they are going to be able to grab it. Sven does finish it off. Nicely done by Cloud9, while Blabber just continues farming down on that bot side, but at the same time, they will lose the tier 1 top because that was getting worked away on by Palafox, so it's just been kind of relentless aggression here from Contracts. And I like that he is pushing this advantage. I like that he's playing in the face of Blabber.
Yeah.
You know, and really not allowing Blabber to kind of play the game that he wants. Plus, it has the added benefit of just tracking where this Vi is all the time. It's so tough for him to actually find any successful plays when Naafiri's always in his face and you know where he is.
I mean, me and Kobe were talking about this a little bit yesterday since me and him are both jungle mains as players, but being a high damage jungler and you have a support on your team who is playing a heavy CC champ and he does not care about his AD carry and all he wants to do is roam with you is just the best feeling as a jungler because you're set up to constantly run not only your jungle, but the enemy one too.
Absolutely. I mean, Seos has been very, very active on the map. Obviously, you're playing with B-Boy on the Ezreal. He can kind of just chill and farm, right? It's pretty tough to take down an Ezreal when he has Flash, when he has Barrier, when he has Shift. So B-Boy just playing it safe and it's allowing Seos just be kind of unchained on the map. And it's nice to see what the addition in this game in a bit has done so far for them. But Cloud9, lots of members down here.
Yeah, they want to go after Fudge, beat up the old teammate. Fudge with a flash out. Blabber goes in. Nice use of the public execution to try to reverse the ulti there, but it's not enough. Fudge still drops. Loki gets the kill. That's where C9 would like to see it, and they'll be happy with that play.
Yep, going to be a nice move from Cloud9 down towards that bottom side. All rewarded with the kill on Fudge. Caught him his flash too, and no big summoners spent.
Oh, wow. Contracts going all the way in after Sven there. So much burst damage onto the C9 AD carry. Very fortunate that Thanatos is there. Otherwise, guaranteed death at the hands of that Naafiri ulti. But now that that spell is down, C9 feels more confident heading into the Drake themselves. Thanatos is here. There's your Solar Flare. Lands onto a value target in Blabber, but do they have the damage to burn him down? A little bit more is going to be needed. Yes, Contracts gets a killing spree. Meanwhile, Palafox is just running circles around everybody else, and Fudge is ready to factor in. True shot barrage over the top, and B-Boy claims Vulcan. Shopify Rebellion just broke two of their jaws and took the dragon out from under them.
Nicely done by Shopify, able to kind of win out on both sides. It seemed like Cloud9 were pretty confident to still take that fight, try to actually force on the dragon, but Zen was pushed back to base. Blabber gets isolated on one side, and even though Thanatos is coming in with the Mega Gnar, which is what I think really gave them confidence, couldn't really find anything because Palafox was just kind of schmoving on him in the 1v3, dancing back and forth, and able to make it work. Softens him up enough that they're able to get the kill with the True Shot Barrage on the exit.
I mean, this is what I was saying I wanted to see at the start of the game. I wanted to see Contracts having another strong carry performance on Naafiri, Palafox creating space in meaningful ways on the Aurora so they can get the fights with this low CC composition. I'm liking what I'm seeing here in the first 18 minutes from Shopify, but Azael, we are getting towards that point of the game that I cautioned against earlier. They've checked the first box. They've had a strong early game. They've gotten out to a nice lead. Now they need to continue. No big macro errors. No bad calls that lead to a crazy team fight because they're looking good with fights like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can see it one more time. You know, look at Blabber down on that right side. It's kind of just completely sectioned off from the rest of the team. And then on the top side, we have Palafox here, just in this 1v3, dancing back and forth between worlds, lands all of his poke there onto Vulcan, softens him up enough that the True Shot Barrage there from B-Boy is able to knock them down. Really well played team fight, but definitely some overconfidence as well, it feels like, from Cloud9 to be pushing in there without Sven, who is at this really strong point.
A tale of two support staff rooms, as you can see Jack, a little frustration on his face. Meanwhile, Revan getting a little bit hyped up as the Shopify boys are finding those angles. And it feels even better, too, because not only do you get the kill on B-Boy, but Vulcan flashed at the very end, thinking all he had to escape from was Fudge. Alistar losing Flash is a big minus, I don't know, however many points for the next team fight when Alistar can't use that for playmaking.
A little bit of poke there onto Seos, but so far, Contracts having an amazing game. You know, got the early invades, gets that punish on Blabber, pushing him out of his jungle, finds him then later and kills him off where Blabber is missing flash and all, has 100% KP, has been everywhere on these objectives, constantly in the face of Cloud9, and has the Rift Herald to boot, so it is still pretty much dead even in gold, but you are expecting them to be able to crack the tier 1 or maybe even pressure a tier 2 or something with that Herald. And they're the ones who got that second dragon. It is Infernal, which is going to be really strong for both sides.
Yeah.
It's really high damage comps. It's comps that have easy ways to apply it with their poke. So it's going to be pivotal. And we'll see if Cloud9 is ready to fight at this next dragon, because it feels like if you give Shopify that third dragon for free, it could be really tough later to stop them.
And we have been singing a lot of Shopify's praises throughout this early game. They have more kills. They have more objectives. It seems like they should be very far ahead, but the gold lead itself is very, very modest. C9 keeping this game on a razor's edge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of that is just farm, right? You know, you can see a bit of a farm advantage, a couple waves on top side. It was around 35, 40 CS in mid lane as well. And Cloud9 has done a good job while they're kind of losing out on skirmishes and getting pushed out of their jungle. They're the ones moving around the map and trying to trade towers. They're up one tower despite the fact being down pretty significantly on kills. So that has kept them very, very close here. And it's really kind of up to Contracts, because Contracts is up 2 levels right now. It will shortly be about a level and a half. But you know, he has almost all of their gold, right? Like, he has everything. So they're going to be trying to force this Otacon. C9 don't have the information just now, but Loki is hanging out in the area, and I feel like they have got to be wondering where everyone is.
They've got to have an inclination that this is going on. A couple of control wards there with the Tri-Brush. Yeah, as soon as you see Seos just really protecting this Tri-Brush that adamantly. But no, C9, they don't want anything to do with it. They're going to give the Voracious Otacon. So Shopify, this time around, the second time's the charm. The Otacon will not be a stumbling point in this game as they secure it without a fight 22 minutes into the game.
And we'll see how much they can actually get from this. You know, Voracious, having the GAs is really strong for this next Dragon fight, right? So that is kind of the big thing here. You know, they won't have it up for the Baron when that spawns. Getting the one with all the plans, like getting Runas, I do think it's stronger overall, but given the state of the game, it's going to be so hard for Cloud9 to actually contest at this next Dragon. So we'll see if they even try to do it, or if they're just going to have to give up that third Dragon and pray that they can stop Shopify from ever getting another one after that.
Well, we do have the Rift Herald summoned up at the same time. This is so obnoxious if you're C9. Nice engage coming out from Seos. Blabber has been found. Point blank, Nefiri ulti to lock onto him. A little bit more damage is required. And yes, there it is. Fudge takes him down. But it's a 1-for-1 trade. Seos loses the false life, regenerating back in the base right now. So not a true 1-for-1, but still 4v4 right now as both teams jockey for position. Here in the mid lane, Palafox goes between worlds. Loki's caught out in a little bit of danger now, but a nice use of Seismic Shove into the Unraveled Earth that keeps Shopify at bay. Vulcan re-engaging now into contracts. He jumps himself back out too. Thanatos wants the engage. Big slam on a Palafox. Knocks him into the wall with the Mega Gnar. Another false life claimed. C9 now with a 4-man push squad here in the mid lane. They'll take down that tier 1 turret and take the gold lead.
Yeah, they're going to be able to take down the turret, but they will still lose the Dragon. Blabber getting caught was really rough at the start of that. It looked like he didn't have a good angle on his Vault Breaker, and he kind of bumped into the wall, so he didn't actually get a lot of distance, which allowed Seos to catch him. Yeah, we are going to go all the way back, so I think he was trying to actually queue over the wall, but because he didn't have enough distance, he basically just bumped into it. Had he queued back towards the right, he would have been fine. In this case, he thought he was going to be able to make that wide wall and get all the way out of there. But with him going down, it really made it impossible for him to actually contest this Dragon. C9 actually play out the 4v4, 4v5, excuse me, very, very well. You know, they killed off Seos. We're back to live, though. We're back to fighting.
Yeah, Seos still going to be looking, seeing if he can find that big engage. Remember, that is the main trigger pull on Shopify Rebellion. Contract's eating some poke here. Nice double stun from Seos, who is now very low on health, mind you. C9 taking notice of this. Piercing arrow does not hit the Leona, but because of the compromised health bars on Seos and Fudge, Shopify are trying to get away. Loki hops off the Weaver's wall early. Fires a couple of rocks into Contracts, but nothing more to be found.
Yeah, gets the flash off Contracts, though, so that's pretty nice, because Contracts does have a hefty bounty on him right now. You know, is very far ahead of the pace of the game. Almost that full 2-level lead has been reclaimed over Blabber, so feeling really good about his spot. But if they could kill him off, again, that's so much of their power. So Contracts without flash could be punishing. We'll see if Cloud9 can capitalize on that later on. As Vulcan going to get chunked out a little bit here from Palafox, but not too worried. Loki's been doing pretty well, I feel like, in this game. You know, he's playing through the side lanes well. He's been pretty impactful in these 5v5 skirmishes also. But always going to have to be very careful about his positioning just because there's so much dive on Shopify's side.
He's certainly having a better game than he had on day one, right? The Rise game was really rough. Right now, looking at the clocks on everything, it's a little bit over 3 minutes until we will get what is the Infernal Soul spawning for Shopify. You know that is going to be a fight. You know C9 will not want to give it away. They try to engage. Seos misses the Zenith Blade, though, but Contracts is ready to jump right in onto Loki. They turn the aggro back on over to Blabber, who's down to 100 HP, barely getting away now. The damage over time from the Darkened Daggers, not enough to do him in. Shopify Rebellion, I'm loving the killer instinct we're getting, but it comes up just short.
Again, it's just Seos and Contracts. This duo is looking so strong in this game. Thanatos spotted over the wall, has to be careful. And that was critical. I mean, if Blabber dies there, that's Baron. Very, very likely. Loki loses his flash. He has to get out. They just don't have enough damage to actually finish off Contracts, even though he was missing his summoner. So Cloud9 lucky to get out of there. Do want to try to fight and reclaim some vision around that Baron area because they don't have a lot right now. But Contracts is here, and you cannot underestimate him. So Vulcan going to be getting chunked down.
Yeah, luckily for him, has the Aftershock to get rid of a little bit of that lasting damage. Contracts, there's not a lot of range on Darkened Daggers. It's nice because you get the 2 casts, the extra little burst of execute damage if you get the second one, but still not a whole lot to work with once he's got some distance.
Yeah, but at the very least, he defended the wards, right? They couldn't actually get in and clear out any vision. Now, they were thinking, okay, we know that B-Boy's on a reset timer, most of Shopify's on a reset timer. We're going to move in, we're going to clear out these wards, get some of our own vision. But him being there, it wasn't really that he was threatening Vulcan with a kill, but he defended the pink ward, he pushed him back, and he's clearing out more vision in the area. Contracts has just been controlling this whole zone while his team was on the reset. Now Seos is back, so Cloud9 again are going to be struggling to get vision in this area to be able to even approach in their jungle so they can keep eyes on the Baron.
Well, 2 minutes have passed, and we had a near kill on Blabber, but that's it. And we're just that much closer now to the Infernal Soul spawning. It's under 90 seconds. C9 must have an answer for this. They must be ready to respond to Shopify. You already talked about how powerful this Infernal Soul is going to be on a team that has such high damage. Shopify, though, they might just lose contracts, and that would be huge. Hound's Pursuit to try to drop some of the aggro, jumps back up the wall, but Thanatos is ready and waiting. They find contracts in C9. That was huge at the biggest possible moment. Thanatos coming in to cut off the escape route with a Mega Gnar into the wall. Watch him fall. Shopify nowhere to run. The car crashes into the ditch right when they needed to avoid it most. C9 with the biggest play of the game so far.
Nobody steals Blabber's Raptors 10 times in a row. They catch him at the scene of the crime. That time they were waiting. They sent everything for contract there, and he still almost looked like he was going to get out, even without the flash. But the Q flash engaged from Blabber. The Weaver's wall comes through. Vulcan is there. Thanatos is over the wall to collect the kill as he's trying to get out. And then everything goes pear-shaped for Shopify. They knew he wanted to reinvade. Look at this. Q flash into the ulti, into the combo, into the seismic shove. Gets into his W, is able to immune that, hops over the wall, and you think, oh no, he really gets out. But then you see Thanatos is there, Sven is there. They're able to finish him off. And now it's just a full-on retreat because Shopify is very segmented. You can see Fudge was not with the team. He was completely separate. And so it became this 5-man collapse on the 3-man squad there. You honestly couldn't even tell that they're winning watching Reaper.
No, Reaper is cold, man. There is ice in his veins as now Contracts is in some trouble again. Stuck in the pit, has to use Hound's Pursuit, trying to stay alive. A little bit more damage isn't there. It's secured by Blabber, but the Vi is first to drop. Fudge tries to get away from the unraveled earth. Shopify need to try to exit the pit, and they need to get out with as many men still alive as they can. Loki's ready for the chase as the Weaver's wall goes after Palafox. Seos and Fudge are both already down. It's a 2-for-1 plus a dragon for C9. Contracts at least just trying to get his Krug, wants to provide a little bit of protection for B-Boy if he can, but C9 still wants more. They're not quite going to find it, and Shopify again come up short in the fight.
Nice little attempted predict there from Loki, though. He put the seismic shove where the shift was going to put him, so B-Boy had to shift, then immediately flash as he realized he was shifting into that seismic shove. Cloud9, though, full court press here. They have the Baron buff. They win the fight. That means there's going to be greater rewards to be able to be picked up. It's now already a 3,000 Red Bull Baron power play on it. And we can watch this one more time. This one became very dicey. Blabber tries to look for the turn onto Contracts, but the Dragon is still getting hit. Cloud9 never really stopped damage on it, so it just became a straight up flip. Blabber clearly wanted to turn and go for the fight. Contracts early smote, though, down to about 700. Hard to blame him when you're that low and it's that high of a pressure situation. But some miscommunication on the Cloud9 side allowed Contracts to have a shot. They get the kill on Blabber after they lose it, but then just the higher health bars are really what allows Cloud9 to push through and go for the win.
C9 coming back real fast in this game. I feel like the gold lead for so long was very modest for Shopify, right? Talking 500, 1,000, something around there. And then now it's a 5,000 nearly gold lead for C9 after that big catch near the Baron. Vulcan and the rest of the squad now taking over the top side of the Shopify jungle, using the pressure, using the Baron, takes down the tier 2 turret up here in the top lane. And now, Azael, it's not just that Shopify have lost that window at the earliest possible soul. It's now they're the ones feeling the pressure, like, I don't know if we can beat these guys in an open fight.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Cloud9 has been playing the map better throughout the game, I think, than Shopify. That's why they were keeping it even, despite being at, a kill deficit. But now that they've started picking up some kills, they got some major objectives, and it is going to be really, really hard because you're looking across at some of these item completions. You're looking across at some of the gold gaps. You look up in top lane, it's 3.5 items to just the 2. You look in mid lane, 3.5 items to just the 2, with some really expensive ones. Fully stacked Roa, Deathcap, Archangels, and a Seekers ready to be used is very tough to deal with from Loki. Sven as well, he is getting close towards that 4th item, so it's going to be tough now for Shopify because Contracts only won with a gold lead, and it's a smaller one than pretty much everything on the other side.
One thing surprising about this game to me, in a game where the kills are dead even, and the Dragons are split 3-2, and the Grubs are split, like there's been a lot of all these objectives getting split, both marksmen are still deathless. They're the only 2 players in the game that haven't died yet, but both B-Boy and Sven have not been dropped a single time.
Fighting minions.
Yep. That's just what you got to do sometimes. Farm it up. If you're not 6 items, are you really ready for the team fight?
No, you're not. There's always more. And even when you are 6 items, what if you want to change your items later?
Right.
It's time to farm.
You need to have that 4,000 gold nest eggs in case you need to swap your shoes around or buy a couple elixirs of wrath or whatever they're called.
Who knows? Some tariffs could get put in on some of these items. Might cost more in the future.
Oh, no, dude. 900 gold elixir of wrath.
Exactly, right? You got to save up.
Well, Contracts is trying to save Shopify's chances in this game right now. The one man left on their side who still has a gold advantage for himself. You were already talking about the item advantages, but just the raw gold value, plus 2,500 for both solo laners on C9, plus 1,500 in the marksman role. It's almost plus 500 just in supports, man. So everybody else on Shopify really falling behind now. 6,000 gold total lead for C9. We've got 60 seconds till the Drake spawns, 65 until the Baron spawns. It's another one of those interesting map states where both buffs are up at the same time and both are very important. And in that situation, it's almost always the team with the lead that can just wait for their opponents to make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is very heavily in their favor, but something working for Shopify. Deathcap now completed for Palafox. That is a really big buy. And they still have a very strong, high-damage jungler. If they can find the perfect engage, I do think there is an opportunity for them. Someone like Sven could still get 100 to 0'd, and then the fight becomes a very different beast. I don't think Loki is really that viable of a target unless he's in a very bad spot at this point. And Thanatos is getting pretty beefy, so he's going to be tough to take down. It really does feel like it's kind of Sven or bust. But Sven, you know, is going to know that, and is going to be positioning quite far back and having his support play around him. So we'll see if Shopify can get anything done. There's just not a lot of vision. It's so tough to find these fights when you don't have any eyes on anything.
Yeah, teleport coming in now as Shopify squares up to fight for the Infernal Soul, hoping that a win here might be able to get them back to an even level of power against this accelerated C9 as Loki just throws out the Weaver's Wall. Everybody is stuck on the wrong side except for Seos, who's going to get bursted down before anything else even happens.
Thanatos.
C9 got a 5v4, and Thanatos has a Mega Gnar bar fully charged. He's looking for the opportunity. He finds the slam on a B-Boy, and there's the first marksman death this game. Shopify have already lost 3 Contracts. The dog got took behind the shed, too. There is nobody safe. Palafox knocked back by Vulcan. Sven's not close enough to continue the damage. C9 has stopped the Soul. They've killed 3. They're pushing into the enemy base, and Fudge cannot find a way back. Blabber just running them around in circles, keeping them occupied, keeping them busy. Seos is going to respawn in about 3 seconds, but there's no Contracts, no B-Boy for 25. Seos and Palafox stepping up to try to stop C9 from ending the game, but Palafox is already dead. Seos just scrambling to try to waste their time, but there's no way. The piercing arrow gets him, and now finally Fudge is back home, only to be buried with the rest of his team. 13-7, 35 minutes into the game. C9 finds their first win of Split 2.
First marksman death is also the last as B-Boy gets picked off. The game just ends. Cloud9, really good setup for that final dragon fight. Highlighted really well by the observers. It's so tough to approach that kind of a fight as Shopify when you have no vision anywhere and you're playing this comp that needs to be able to attack from different angles. Cloud9 set it up really well. Thanatos finds a good flank. They have a good Weaver's Wall. They pick off Seos, and then it was kind of just full retreat from Shopify. Cloud9 did a really good job of withstanding the early pressure from Shopify. All of these invades. Contracts played a great early game, but it's Cloud9 at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that Shopify, once again, when they go back, when they look at the VODs from opening weekend, there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot to be excited about when you look at the way that both of their games started off for the first 20 minutes or so. But yesterday, it was the fight around the Otacon. Today, it was getting caught in that topside river again before the Baron that led to the big turnaround for C9. And it feels like without these fumbles, if Shopify can really shore those up and plan better the way that they want to play around those topside river objectives standoffs, that they can really start snowballing some of these early leads into game wins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a promising start here for Shopify. But I will say, I think it's more than just, that one pick at the Raptors. I think people are going to pinpoint that and say, if Contracts didn't get caught, maybe they win the game. And that could be true. But also, they had a lot of kills. They had a lot of pressure. They didn't get a gold lead.
Well, it was still a C9 win despite the early Shopify lead. So let's send it down to Emily and Sven on stage for an interview.
Thank you, Flowers. I am here with victorious AD carry Sven. Thank you so much for joining me. The first thing I wanted to ask you is same exact comp that we saw out of Shopify yesterday. You guys must have been expecting this, so why did you let it through, and what did you have prepared to deal with it?
Yesterday we watched Dig versus SR, and we thought that if we were Dig task, we would have won, because we thought this Shopify draft was bad. So we're like, okay, let's just go red side, and they'll pick same champs again, and we'll win. But then it didn't really go that way, so maybe the draft wasn't so shit after all.
Yeah, they got off to a good early lead, but it did seem like you guys were moving around the map a lot more, despite the fact that they were able to pick up kills, save a few of those early drakes. So what was your communication like while they were getting these leads and trying to keep it close while moving around?
I think once we stop misplaying the fight, we should be winning around objectives. We have much better zone control with Varus and Talia. I think they have to go on us, and that's when Alistar becomes really OP and Talia Brox are really strong. So I feel like once we get a few items and we fight the objectives, we should just win.
And then going into overall this season, you guys had a loss yesterday, win today. What was your preparation like going into this week, and what was your off-season like?
We went to Korean bootcamp doing first stand, so we got to scrim a lot of different teams from different regions, which was very nice. But preparation is always hard in the first week because we haven't scrimmed 100 Thieves or Shopify for months since we're playing them, right? So you have no idea what anyone's gonna do in the first game. You just have to guess. So it's always kind of random what happens in the first couple of days. You don't really know what anyone's playing besides the 3-4 teams you played against in scrims. So yeah.
What was the biggest thing to come out of boot camp that you think you improved on?
I think just playing against different teams from different regions, mostly Korea and EU, it's very different choice of champions and pace of game, and it's very eye-opening, I guess, to scrim against different teams.
Okay, well, thank you so much for catching up with me. It's always great to talk to you. And LTA North Twitch subs are back. So join the community for exclusive content, including League of Legends in-game emote, Tell Me Everything for paid and gifted subs. Plus, get access to all of our exclusive LTA North Twitch emotes. Subscribe to the LTA today. And after the break, TL 100 Thieves is coming up next.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Rich in the ground before Dub can even get there. In time to try to knock out as Impact gets bursted.
Don't feed. Get fed. Scan the QR code for LTA deals only on Uber Eats.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Blackwood, a board-certified dermatologist. When my patients ask about scar treatment and prevention, my answer is ScarAway every day. It soothes discomfort, protects your skin, and fades your scars with the use of silicone. Silicone is the #1 scar reduction ingredient recommended by both dermatologists and plastic surgeons. It mimics the natural barrier function of healthy skin to help soften, flatten, and diminish the appearance of scars while also providing relief from pain and itching.
Slowly, Battle's coming slowly.
Yeah, I'm heading back to Dragon, guys.
Okay, nice. I already go to push butts. That's all fun.
Nice, someone go butts. I want to play heavy. Go. I'm flanking, guys.
I got him.
I stopped him. Come with 2 seconds. Keep chasing.
Leona.
Yeah. I'm looking, guys.
Splash. Leona.
I have good position.
Okay.
Looking.
He's the Lulu. He's here.
Let's go back.
We can go there.
One to finish.
I'm chasing.
They're stuck, okay? We can keep fighting after.
Okay, keep fighting. Ichiro, dead.
Maybe, guys.
I'm gonna tip him mid.
I think that the Fearless Draft Fearless Tournament is going to expose a lot of fraudulent professional players.
Ooh, interesting. Why do you think that?
Okay, one tricks are already not really allowed in pro play, so I think it's going to show which pro players cannot expand their champion pool or already currently does not have a wide champion pool.
I think that there are fewer of those players than people think out there. I think that a lot of the time you can find an analogous champion. And I think that there's actually a higher burden on coaches than there is at players right now, because what I think we're going to find as a counterpoint is instead of like an individual player getting like banned out and like playing a champion they're not good at, is a whole bunch of drafts that just don't make coherent sense, because you're going to end up with like champions that coaches haven't put together in a jigsaw puzzle well before. So I think that whilst it will test new skills, I don't know whether it's actually going to test individual players' pools as much as it is going to test like whoever controls the draft on the team to be able to make like a coherent recipe as opposed to individual ingredients. I also think that because Fearless doesn't impact game one, that if you are one of these teams that relies on very specific picks, to be able to get a game one victory, you actually get such a huge advantage in best of threes now, because you only have to get one of the next two drafts right to be able to do it. So I think that there will be less upsets than people initially think, but I do hope that it does shake up the meta a lot more than what we currently see.
Wouldn't you say that a professional team that can, like, say they get a horrible draft, wouldn't you say a professional team would still be able to play and strategize within the actual game outside of Champion Select? As a professional player, if you're a top tier player and not just a solo cute girly.
Yeah. Look, I would love to be able to give you that vote of confidence, but unfortunately, I do think in the current state of League of Legends, because like objectives kick off at like 5 minutes at the moment, 6 minutes, that actually being able to get a good draft is actually, I would say, way too crucial in current League of Legends. I would say I would actually share your opinion. Like 5 years ago, I think so many drafts are playable, but nowadays I think draft is actually too big a portion of the game. So, pressure on me.
Welcome back to LTA. Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves. Raz, these two played in the Split 1 finals.
Yeah, they did.
What did we learn?
Not so long ago, they faced off against each other. A lot of people come out of that finals thinking that it was just a complete 3-0 stomp.
Well, it was a 3-0.
Yes, that is a fact. But I created a split screen, and I want you to spot the differences here.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of differences, actually. How specific do you want me to get?
Let me just focus on the fact that I'll spot what's very similar. So A, both on the bottom side of the map. This play is about to start.
Yep.
Both in game 2 and game 3, 100 Thieves have a lead. 100 Thieves have a lead.
They do. Okay.
Positive game state. Everything's looking good. Looks like 100 Thieves are either going to tie the series up or at least bring us closer to like a game 5. And now you just start the play. Let's just start
what happens?
it. The sadness was the fact that it was the same ending, the same conclusion. Either on this side, it was over pushing on towards Impact and then Team Liquid collapsed, or they start the fight and then get collapsed by Team Liquid, who scaled a lot better. And guess where they are on the map right next to Otacon? Because it's that exact same time in both games.
Oh my goodness.
They throw at the same time in the same position, and the same conclusion gets drawn out where Team Liquid now take over the game, they take Otacon, they roll it forward. Team Liquid, of course, benefited greatly. It was a 3-0 stomp. They go to first stand. 100 Thieves are going to come into this being like, let's not throw games anymore, please.
I mean, pros and cons, right? Team Liquid won the 3-0.
Yes.
So you're thinking they're strong at team fighting and coming back in games. But then 100 Thieves can also have the cope angle of saying, we may have lost every game, but we were winning in almost every game as well. And they won yesterday. So as we move into this game, I know at the start of the day, all 4 of us on the lounge actually predicted 100 Thieves to win this game.
Yeah.
Partially based on what Team Liquid did yesterday. Let's focus in on some individual players, though. Yeon and FBI are two really, really good AD carries in this league.
Very talented. If we could give accolades last split, these two would be the AD carries that got the most. Like, I felt like Yon was the best player in the LTA North last split, whereas FBI was the second best AD carry and the most impactful player, 200 Thieves. And for me, what matters most when it comes to FBI is how consistent he was for the team, where this team a lot of the times has a lot of variance.
Yeah.
They can lose to the worst teams, they can beat the best teams, or he brings that consistency, whereas Yon has been Mr. Consistent.
He really has. I feel like Yon has been such a solid performer, but then almost because, and this is a first stand point, because they lost so many series in a row at first stand, I feel like he started to try a little bit too hard. Like, you can only do so much as an AD carry, and as soon as you overplay your hand, that's when you'll start making mistakes. I thought he was getting a little bit into that latter category by the end of first stand, and needs to just almost refocus on doing his job, because he was almost perfect at it, in my opinion.
That is very fair, and I think that's a larger point about, like, perceived problems. On 100 Thieves, they're like, look, we lost the finals, but we got to the finals. We think we're close to getting there.
Yeah.
Because Team Liquid literally won, but because of the experience of first stand, the perception of their problems in the community and of course internally is like, we feel like we're bad, there's so much we need to change, where it's probably just fine-tuning.
It's the blessing and the curse of the international event, because you can go to these international events and lose, and it makes you think you need to reevaluate things, but then the reevaluating of the things changes what got you there in the first place.
Yep.
Winning the LTA is hard.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can make wholesale changes and still win immediately, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
We are.
This is the second best of one of the positioning phase of Split 2. So in my opinion, I'm more looking for trends of how the players look and how confident they feel in their plays, because I just want, if I'm looking at Team Liquid, I just want them to be going for plays. I'm actually fine that they're playing Jarvan yesterday with Jarvan Ari, giving it a try, instead of playing Sejuani Maokai with Ziggs, because we know that's good, and we know that no matter what happens in the positioning phase, for a team like Team Liquid, they're confident that they can still make top 6 from the group stage. So I actually just want to see them experiment as much as possible. Whereas I think 100 Thieves actually has a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder right now.
Yeah.
They just want to smash people. So that's one of the reasons I picked 100 Thieves here.
That's a very fair point. And also I think that 100 Thieves as a team, they're not being level 1 lane swaps anymore. They're happy about that.
Yes.
And also, on top of that, the creativity in their draft, even though the Ribbon technically didn't work out, the fact that they have stuff like that in their arsenal, like, is a big positive for them. So I'm really interested to see how far 100 Thieves will go in creativity around their draft, especially since we just came out of the content piece from TL side, where Spawn is talking about how the draft matters so much now.
Correct.
So, like, it's going to be interesting to see how Team Liquid can really experiment and get ahead on that with the meta changing so frequently.
And I know Team Liquid in the past has been accused of having all Korean players, because they did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's no shortage of influence from watching the LCK to what we see Team Liquid implement almost immediately. And I think some of those things can be true with Quid and River as well, 400 Thieves. Long story, long-winded way of getting to this. I watched T1 Gen G last night.
Yeah.
And something I noticed in draft is every single game, the support was the last pick in the draft. That's the counter pick that they were going for. So support was held as long as possible by blue side. They picked it on the 4-5, and then red 5 was the support counter pick. Core JJ versus Ayla.
True.
They worked a lot together on Team Liquid. Core's been with Team Liquid since 2018. Ayla was brought over from Oceania to Team Liquid in 2020, spent several years on that org. I think we're going to see support counterpick for sure in this draft. So red side, that's going to be the advantage for having red side.
I like that point. And especially since there is no lane swap level 1 anymore, you're seeing a lot more volatile picks. Like, Nico's finding a lot of success. A lot of it is like how good of a lane bully she is and how great she is at engaging. So that is something I personally want to see. I'm interested in hearing what the casters want to see. Let's get straight to them.
All right, everybody, let's lock and load. Let's get to it. Team Liquid, 100 Thieves. This is one of our classic modern-day matchups here in the LTA, and we're about to get the next chapter of it.
You got this cool graphic, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did you see it shoot out of the floor?
Yeah,
that was actually really cool.
That was pretty sick. All right,
Okay.
quick introduction. We still got me and Azale here on the call for this one, but Emily Rand joining us for the
Someone
TriCast.
let me up here. You
Emily,
know,
are you
like,
ready?
there-
Are you ready?
Yes.
Let me see your mad
Let's
dog
go.
face. Okay. All right, let's get in here. Let's see which one of these two teams has it in them to walk away with the dub here. Vi and Yone banned out by TL. You've got the Rumble banned out by 100 Thieves. I really always like to see Team Liquid respecting an opponent that can really play the Yone to great efficacy like Quid can, especially since it's not an APA-style champion. You got to take that one away.
That and the Vi, actually. Vi is one of the premier jungle picks right now that we see let through a lot. But River on that Vi, his team fight targeting is so good. We saw it just yesterday. So I like that takeaway as well.
I actually think they're all really good bans. I mean, I do think APA probably his best champion right now is Talia. I think the best carry for Impact is Rumble. So, you know, they're not only meta picks, but I do think there's some headshots as far as the player proficiency as well.
It's also interesting to see Gwen banned out on the blue side, which means they don't want to lock that in for Impact again. I also, Azale, you and I were talking about this, how we both think Gwen is strong and her win rate on LTA North Day 1 does not reflect how strong she can be. As we see, Varus, the premier AD pick, goes with a lot of, like a large variety of types of lanes.
6 out of 6 games so far in LTA North that is not getting banned, but it is always getting picked. Like you said, it plays in a lot of different lanes, but it also has on hit, it has poke, it has a lot of different styles, different rune setups. To kind of fit every single situation you could ever really want in it. And River and Fury is something I'm actually pretty excited for, because I feel like this is something that could really kind of jive with his playstyle. You know, creative paths, being able to attack from different angles, and really getting active here.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting specifically with the Nefiri to me is that there is a little bit of a trade-off when it comes to team composition, right? Because she is an assassin, unlike a lot of other jungle picks that I do think 100 Thieves relies on River for. She's not going to have the same CC, right? Like, she's not going to have the same kind of zone control that you expect coming out of some of his other picks. So I am super, super curious, because in one way it fits his playstyle, but in another way I do think it takes away a facet that 100 Thieves like to have in their team composition.
I agree, and I think I would have been actually much more concerned about that for them last year. But Ayla, I feel like, has been playing really well this year, and in Split 1, I thought he was very, very good on some of these engaged champions. So I don't mind if he's kind of taking up that mantle, but it is definitely something to note and could be a cause for concern if they don't have any sort of engage. Umti going to be going in towards the Xin Zhao. Pretty standard stuff. Can set up for AP mid lane, of course.
I see one of your favorite champions, Miss Fortune, locked in for 100 Thieves. Azale, tell us how you feel about that.
I mean, so MF is, it does have a good lane and does control mid lane really well. I think those are the main positives. I just think this champion relies so much on proper setup to have much efficacy in fights that it's so hard to have an individual impact. And most of the time, you just end up in this situation where they're kind of just like strafing back and forth in a 5v5 and then shoot on all that barely hits anyone and they do nothing. I do think if you're pairing it with a lot of hard CC, then it can work well, but I'm just so not a fan of this champ, especially for an AD who's playing really, really well, like FBI.
Well, we do have the Ryze locked in as the last pick for the first half of the draft here for 100 Thieves. Likely going into the mid lane, but can also still be flexed to top lane as well.
TL's Jace.
Speaking of, I was going to say, yeah, speaking of flex lanes, you have Jace for TL, and this is not the champion that immediately comes to mind when I'm thinking Impact or APA.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it could go to either, but you're kind of like, but do I want it to? Like, you know, it's definitely not what I think of, you know, for them. My assumption is it is going to be Impact lane. He's going to play kind of like Crash style, the kind of Bruiser style. It is a really strong laner, and I do think it'll be tough for Sniper to really pick anything that gets a big advantage against it. You know, I do think that Impact's good at playing through side lanes, and I think that is where, you know, he could get an edge with it. But I just always have so much comfort when I see, you know, Impact playing that tanky style, that engage style. So we'll have to see how they want to round out this composition, because right now, obviously, it's triple physical. They need an AP mid laner, and then they're going to need engage from core. So you already kind of know what they would be looking for. I'm a little surprised to see the Renata ban, honestly, because there's zero engage on the TL side. So I feel like they probably would not have been looking towards a Renata anyway, as they need like a Leona or like an Alistar or something like that to round out the composition.
Yeah, and then we see Mbessa and Sion taken away. Sion's something I've seen a lot as like the tank option, quote unquote, from LPL teams. Also interesting to see Quid bringing out the Ryze. I think Ryze, when played well, has such insane map control, specifically due to his ultimate. And 100 Thieves had a few runs of play yesterday where I was actually really impressed by their cross mapping. I'm very curious to see how well Quid does on that champion with this specific composition.
And Cassio obviously making sense as a ban. It's an APA comfort pick, and it's also a really good matchup into the Ryze. So I do think that makes a ton of sense.
And I feel like Cassio is kind of the classic Ryze counter. Back in the previous metas where Ryze has dominated, she's just the machine gun mage that out DPSs him at his range. But Azir, that's going to be a pretty classic pick here for the mid lane for APA. But again, it's not one of the champions that immediately comes to mind as like his specialty, but it is one of the ones that we've seen him improve on over time compared to when he first was introduced to the league. Now for Team Liquid, what do we get as our support to pair with the Varus?
I mean, it's so interesting because Poppy obviously denies plays, Braum can shut down the MF, but also they need hard engage. So like of the three who is hovering, I kind of prefer the Rakan, to be honest, because it gives you that guaranteed hard engage. This is going to be more play denial. It's going to be about stopping the Alistar, stopping the Naafiri when they are looking for those dives, and being able to try to reject that. So we will see, if that is going to work out here. Sniper, we're just waiting for his final pick now. And we'll see, he's 7-0 now on the Riven. Did get a win yesterday.
This would be an incredibly risky team.
I think there's no way he's picking it into a Jace.
Yeah, okay, and there we go. The Aatrox coming through. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more stable. I do think that it can do absolutely fine against the Jace. Sometimes people used to play like a lot of Common. I've seen more Electrocute these days into the range matchups, so you can go that kind of style. And then, you are always that kind of tanky beast in a team fight as long as you're farming well. And I do think it's a pretty good draft for 100 Thieves. I actually feel like I like their comp more overall. I do think Quid can get out to the side lanes and can win that side lane later on against Jace, especially if he's going for that more tanky style of build. And they have a good ability, with River there too, to be able to attack those side lanes and potentially find dives on anyone who is answering. That being said, obviously strong 5v5 for TL, and it feels like that's more what they're drafting towards.
Yeah, for me, it really is going to be about how they do play those side lanes, right? How they are able to spread the map, because when I do compare these two teams, while I think 100 Thieves have improved on that aspect, I do definitely still see TL, even when we haven't seen them play at their best, still a team that has pretty good map presence, cross-map control, understands their lane assignments very, very well. And with this range poke composition essentially coming out of them.
All right, well, let's see what Raz has to say. He's standing by with Spooks and Swiffer for an interview.
Okay, so as you guys were just talking to each other, but first of all, you got Spooks here, Swiffer here. You just said you messed up how?
Now draft's good. Perfect. Nah, we just we messed up our 4-5 a little bit. So yeah, I think our draft is fine, but it's not optimal.
And meanwhile, you just a little bit of ego letting the Naafiri through. Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the same thing, but I'll just let him. I'll just let him take it. It's all right.
No, expand on it.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, all right. We'll send it straight back to the catchers as the game starts on. You guys go ahead.
All right, thank you all very much. Let's get into it. Apparently some confidence, but not full confidence in the state of the drafts here from the coaches. Let's see what the players can do with it.
I feel like if you're a coach and you think you've messed up draft, do you admit it?
No, actually,
I'm like, this is exactly what we need.
Yeah, I would go full send on the opposite. I would just be like, I cannot believe you let us get exactly what we want. I got a notebook with 5 pages of that,
exactly.
Right? Just completely get in their head.
It's gonna be interesting. It just as soon as he said that, I was just thinking about, I wonder what he wanted to know 4-5.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you're thinking like, oh, they clearly got something else cooked up. No, you want to completely mislead them, bamboozle them. What is it? Gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss. You just want to convince them. Yeah. I learned this on the internet. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Learned on the internet. So, little update. We are going to be remaking through Jam Select because River picked a skin he's not allowed to play in competitive.
Oh.
Wait, is it the hot dog?
I couldn't find it.
I think it because I saw.
It's the Naafiri hot dog.
Because Contracts tweeted yesterday, I want them to enable the April Fool's skins on stage games, so I can be the hot dog.
Is a good skin.
Yeah, I think it's because it's so new. They don't have like.
Okay, he does not look like he is repenting at all.
I mean, I would want to play the happy. I would want to play the hot dog as well. So
I love River. He's kind of a troll.
Well, I guess it's gonna be another few minutes because we have the hot dog bug. That's what we'll call it. The hot dog bug. The bug that makes you play the hot dog. That's all I got.
That's not a bug. That's a feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you're not allowed to use April Fool's skin. Oh, really?
He's like, oh, really?
It's one of these, it's a learning experience, right? It happens.
Yep.
You never know. To be honest, I don't know the comprehensive list of skins that are not allowed to be
I
played
don't
in competitive.
I don't even know any of it.
There are sometimes when I see people play skins in competitive, and I'm like, that was allowed. Like, in my head, it was still in the ban list.
Isn't it like, I know Santa Gragas, I think, that one's banned, right? Because it's like really hard to see the
The
queue.
only two that I know for sure are Steel Legion Lux and Underworld Twisted Fate because
I
their
thought
projectiles are hard
Eye
to see.
Blitz as well. I thought that
Oh
one was
yeah,
really hard to see.
well, doesn't Eye Blitzcrank have that weird thing where you can spam an
I hate
animation
it.
and it looks like a perfect
I
juke of his
hate
Q?
it. I hate it so much.
Also,
I hate that skin so
you like
much.
only kind of see the fist. You don't see the arm
Yeah,
extending.
no,
It's like,
that's as an Iggy
Yeah.
carry going up against Blitz. I have like PTSD from that skin.
There's definitely some crazy skins. I remember when Project Ash first came out. People would walk out of a bush and hawkshot, and people would like flash the hawkshots, thinking it was like an Ash
I can
arrow.
see that. Yeah. That I'm like, do we think because I don't think if I was a pro player I would pay attention to what skins are banned.
Dude, I don't even know what
whatever.
percentage of the pro players read the patch notes.
I
There's
mean,
no way.
we don't know. Like, we don't know the skin ban list.
Okay,
There's no way that River knew.
Here's what we have to figure out. What is the fitting punishment? Should he have to bring some dogs and grill them?
He has to
next
dress
week?
up like a hot dog.
He has to do.
Oh, hot dog costume stage game. Okay, I
He's
can get
got to run
behind
his
that.
own tailgate next weekend.
Since you were so dedicated to being a hot dog, now you must play as a hot dog. I embrace that.
Oh, that'd be so funny. Would you, like, if River's out there grilling hot dogs, would you eat?
I would,
Dude,
I would go have a
absolutely.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll 100% go
Yeah.
out there.
Hell
Look,
yeah.
Like I'm down with the hot dog theme. I work with that. There was what was it? Back during
Fire up the grill.
Like right when everybody like kind of lockdown lifted up, you remember? There was like a time there for like 6 months where I just subsisted on hot dogs. It was just like 3 hot dogs for breakfast every morning, 4 in the afternoon
Oh
for
my
lunch. Then a couple at night.
Did you mix up like the condiments or anything,
Yeah,
or it was
like,
just
what?
like
No, mustard on a hot dog. I would.
Don't you
that's
get
it?
bored?
Just mustard
no,
on a hot dog?
No, I just eat hot dogs with mustard every day.
Oh.
For breakfast, I'm like I can respect the the lunch hot dogs, the dinner hot dogs, the breakfast hot dogs. I'm not sure I can get
No,
behind.
the Twitch chat didn't like it either, but they were actually really good. I would have them with a big, tall glass of tea. Just hot dogs and
Okay.
tea every morning.
Okay.
For a minute, I thought you said you were going to have it with a big tall glass of milk and my stomach was just going to curdle.
Just a nice healthy breakfast.
Also, I'm lactose
Glass of-
intolerant. I
glass
feel
of
like I
whiskey,
should
you
inform
know,
people.
3 hot
That's
dogs.
why. Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with hot dogs. If any of the pro players want to do a hot dog cookout in the parking lot, I am down for that. I will be. I will be first in line.
cook-off against them?
Oh,
Will
yeah.
you taste the dogs and see
I
who
would,
makes the superior
I
dog?
would absolutely do a cook-off with any LCS.
Well, you actually know how to
very
cook.
confident in my cooking skills versus pro gamers.
Yeah, I'm sure you actually know how to cook.
Pro gamers don't know how to boil water. So
Yeah, you're someone who knows how to cook in the League of Legends player base. The Venn diagram is 2 circles further apart than a couple of headlights.
They're
like,
showing
it's just
they're
not
showing
there.
up to your apartment, knocking on your door, being like, "What's a tisp?"
What is that?
Teaspoon.
Oh, okay. I thought.
It's the short for teaspoon.
Flowers also subsists off of hot dogs and Taco Bell. So
I'm just. Hey, when you don't know answers, you ask questions. That's how
That's
you
true.
find out.
No,
answers.
no, now you know,
Now I
right?
know what a tisp is.
there you go. There you go.
You know, that actually makes. So is that like a tip is?
See, no one actually
Tablespoon?
says that. You just say, I just say tablespoon when I see the short.
No, because
hand for
I
it.
was reading
But
that.
it is. Oh yeah. So like this. TB
Yeah, that.
SP.
Yeah.
That means tablespoon.
Oh, yeah, because I couldn't figure out that was the other day, so
There
I
you go.
Googled it, and it gave me like the conversion to non-freedom units, and then I used a can of fermented beverage that had been emptied, and I poured water into it to equal.
Beverage.
Yeah, that was my measuring cup.
Okay.
Oh.
And so then that measured the water that I
Yeah.
could then pour into the thing.
That's perfect.
Wow.
That's ingenuity.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that's creative.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much, Clayton.
Never had to figure out what a tip sip was.
You just MacGyvered that whole situation.
That's what you got to do to get it done, man.
Need some duct tape, an axe, and a
Yeah.
bottle of beer.
I
There
know.
you go.
I
You
know.
gotta figure it out.
If I'm ever in a tough situation, I just need to call Flowers and be like, I have this in my room. How do I get out of this? You know?
Yeah.
How do
No.
I kill this guy?
I've left. No, okay, in Fortnite, we gotta
In
make
game.
Sure,
In game.
we
How do I
have-
kill this guy in game?
No,
Sorry.
there was one time I had to leave notes for people around the house, like because I had left and they were coming over to take care of some stuff.
Yeah.
And I was able to figure out a way to attach those notes to anything in the house using only a piece of paper, a string, a nail, and a cough drop. You can attach it to anything.
Wait, I can see where
Wait,
the
why
cough
didn't you just
drop
tell
is
them what they
going.
needed to do before they came instead of like a scavenger hunt?
This plan was way more fun.
I have to ask, did
And how are
you
you using
lick,
cough? Yeah,
did you
is
lick
he just
the
licking cough drops and sticking them on his wall over his house?
No,
It's like, why would you buy?
was the cough drop the glue? I have to know.
Yes, the cough drop combines with the nail to keep the instructions attached to the ropes.
Wait,
wherever
so
they
why
have
do you
to
need the
hang off
cough
of.
drop if you're just nailing this to
No,
the
you're
wall?
not nailing stuff to the wall. I'm not damaging the walls or anything. You nail them to the cough drop, and the cough drop is attached to a rope that's
What
suspended.
kind of cough drop
Oh
is
my
this that
gosh.
it can
This
stand up
is-
to a nail?
This is an entire machine.
Yeah. No, it's true. Back when I was in college, I used to play League of Legends on a really crappy laptop that barely worked. It would get
yeah.
so hot that it was hurt to touch after 2 games.
The guy in Twitch
I'm
chat
there.
is saying,
so
stop
I'm
typing, it's
also
burning
there.
my
I
lap.
jury rigged a fan to the side of it to blow extra air into the heat port using paper clips, socks, 3 rubber bands, and an old box.
Oh my god, seriously, whenever I'm in trouble, I'm calling you.
Yeah,
You're like,
it's just-
Flowers, help me.
A little bit of creativity will get you a long way. You don't need to spend money if you can use random junk to build
I mean,
junk
I'm
that's
all
not
for
supposed to
that.
be.
I'm all for not spending money.
Yeah, we got this.
I'm cheap.
It's easy. There's nothing to it. It's not what something is. It's what you can use it for.
Or what
Cough
it can
drop,
become.
glue, rope and nail, hanging uppy thing.
There you go.
It works fine.
Beautiful.
Hot dog, breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, hot dog is breakfast. Some people might tell you otherwise, but it's true. You can eat a hot dog at 7 o'clock in the morning and
No one
nobody
can stop you.
you.
No one can stop you.
I'm
That's
Unless
true.
you live at home with your parents, then they might say, "What are you doing? Put the hot dogs back
They
in the
probably
fridge."
still
Yeah.
can't stop you if you're willing to, it's just how much do you want that hot dog?
I want the hot dog.
This
I really
reminds
want-
me of when we'd eat breakfast together in Korea, and I'd have like all of my rice and my smoked salmon and my kimchi, and then you would have like an entire plate of hash browns and like 10 glasses of grape juice.
Yeah, it's a way to do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are done filling. There is no more time for hot dogs. There is no more time for nonsense. It is only time for 100
If
Thieves
we
versus
loaded back
TL.
in and he was a hot dog, I was going to be pissed. Just putting it out there.
Today, on this blessed day, we are all a hot dog.
Yeah.
As
True.
It's a little hot dog in all of us.
River does not get caught out here. Team Liquid was waiting for him. Sniper's going to want to walk away from this one here, too. All right, nice. Sidesteps the shock blast.
Yep. So Sniper is going to be playing Electrocute kind of as expected. It is phase rush for impact, so he is not going to be going in towards Grasp, but still could kind of go for that pseudo tanky build. Phase rush obviously going to have a lot of value against both the Nefiri as well as that Aatrox, who you want to be able to disengage from when they look for those kind of all-in plays.
Yeah, and I'm super curious to see what River is going to do for his first path, right? Because, again, like, you kind of are looking for this Nefiri to get ahead, similar to what we saw from Contracts. He had some really creative pathing on that top side, so I'll be curious to see what River does.
Yeah, and Contracts wasn't afraid to play it very aggressively, right? If he knows he
Yeah.
had his solo laners ahead, he would invade the enemy jungle on their second buff, really try to cause some havoc early on. We'll see if we get a similar story this game, but I feel like it's going to be a lot harder when one of the enemy solo laners is Jace and then mid lane is Azir versus Ryze. You definitely aren't going to feel super confident in your solo laners being in control, having the push, and allowing you to have that extra tempo advantage.
Absolutely, and to touch back on the last time these teams played was back in finals. It was a 3-0 for TL, but it was not what the record sounds like, right? People were coming into this, I think they were really looking at it as though it was going to be, more of a 100 Thieves favorite thing. I think a lot of people had confidence in them. You look at the gold graphs, there was 100 Thieves advantages, especially Game 2 and Game 3, pretty significant advantages that they then weren't able to close out on. So despite the fact that they got swept, they actually were in winning positions in most of these games. And when you look at the actual predictions, people were kind of predicting a lot. I guess this was in quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. People were predicting quite a bit, against 100 Thieves earlier on. But then once they got to the finals, I think it was pretty split, right? We had both Emily and Jat predicting that 100 Thieves would win. I was thinking they were going to win, but they didn't quite take it home. And we'll see if they can kind of build upon that from Split 1, because definitely Split 1, I think they looked a lot stronger than they did all last year.
Yeah, and I think there are, especially in terms of their map play, has been the biggest improvements that I've seen out of 100 Thieves, while interestingly enough also keeping that kind of very skirmish and fight-heavy style that they like. Just coming out of their game against C9 yesterday, they did have a 0.91 combined kills per minute coming out of that game. They were, at one point last split, the bloodiest team in the entire world, which I always think is really, really fun. And I know
That's a fun stat.
Yeah, and Golden Glue and their entire coaching staff have talked about how, like, this is an identity they don't want to lose, even as they work on these core concepts like map play, like cross-map trading.
It's worth touching in on that top lane going very bad for Sniper. He's already used his potion. You know, it's 23 CS to 13. Obviously, there are additional ways being pushed in to actually pick up here. But, you know, Impact hasn't even had to use his potions. He's in a great spot. And this is definitely one of the picks that I would have been critical of Impact on. So, you know, if he can start having these good performances, hey, maybe he can kind of change that narrative and really change the way that they can draft and play. Because I do think he has some good carries, but I think of more like Rumble and GP and that sort of style than things like the Jace, the Gwen, the Jax that I feel like he's been struggling a lot more on.
And if that struggle continues, it's going to feel even worse with the context of this was the last pick of the draft for 100 Thieves. They're on red side. R5 is what balances the two sides in the draft. And if your R5 just ends up completely getting obliterated in lane, falls incredibly far behind, you're constantly playing catch up throughout the game, well, that might lead to what we were hearing on stage with the last couple of picks didn't go exactly where we wanted them to go.
Well, especially when we're talking about Nefiri, right? And a champion that you really do kind of want to give early map pressure so she can kind of farm up, run havoc, be that assassin type carry that she can be. Because otherwise, like I said in draft, the risk with picking something like this in your jungle specifically is that you're just not giving a lot more to the team composition outside of raw damage in team fights.
Checking back in mid lane here. APA on his Azir. I did go ahead and look up the stats just because I wanted to be 100% sure. He is up to 11 lifetime games in pro now, I believe, on Azir with just about a 64% win rate. So definitely not as much of an Azir player, I think, as a lot of other mids are. But Quid's in some trouble. Has to try to get away from it. Flashes out, but he flashes late. That Ignite's going to burn him down. Surely the last little bit of damage. No! The Poppy, only level 4. The Ignite just barely too weak. Drink your potions, ladies and gentlemen. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Quid hangs on by a sliver of health.
Flowers eating hot dogs,
Yeah.
Quid's eating potions.
Hot dog potion.
I was going to say potions are just as important as hot dogs.